Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Watch Darius TV. I am back with another review, and this one is of Speak No Evil. If you like this video, you already know, like, comment, subscribe, and share this video for all things new films coming out this year. So let's already start with this review, okay? So this movie was pretty interesting. I found out this is a remake of a movie that came out, a Danish film of the same name that came out 2 years ago. 2022. So this is basically like I guess an American remake version of that, and it was pretty interesting. I'm a huge fan of James McAvoy. You know, I like a lot of the stuff that he was in. The first thing a movie I remember seeing him in, I think, was probably Wanted. I wonder who else is in this movie. I know I forgot her name. It was the one. There was the one girl that was in the Transformers movie that came out a couple years ago. I remember seeing her. I forgot her name though, and a couple of other cast members I'm not exactly so sure of, but let me see the cast. So yeah, James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis. I know she played like Grace in that Transformers movie that came out a couple years ago, the one that wasn't all that great. But I don't know too much anybody else from this movie from the cast. You know, a lot of these actors seem kind of new to me, or maybe they might be um, maybe from out of the country, possibly. I don't know. I mean, but I know James McAvoy. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of him. Love him in the X-Men films and Wanted and stuff like that. So anyway, let's start with this review. Okay, so this movie's like an American family. You know, they're taking a trip to Italy and stuff like that, and they seem a bit stiff. You know, but they're very well to do. Somebody come from some type of money. You know, some type of success. And it's pretty interesting because then there's the British family that they meet during a trip, and they seem like a little bit more free spirited and more, comfort and more having fun, even though they seem a bit passive aggressive as they get throughout the movie. They become a little bit more, weirdly passive aggressive. The daughter in the American family, her name is Agnes. Despite the fact that she's 12 years old, she's still attached to this doll. She has some type of anxiety issues. Almost 12 and still is being attached to this doll thing is kind of strange. By the way, American Family, the mom is named Louise, the dad is Ben, and the daughter is Agnes. They are I like to call them Dalton family, basically. They on their trip to Italy, they also end up meeting the other family. There's by has the father's name is Patty, the mom name is Sierra, and the son name is Ant. They're more of like they're the free spirited ones, more relaxed. But we realize that the son Ant has some type of weird condition where he can't speak. So it's pretty interesting. And Patty is indeed a doctor. We don't know much about his doctor life, but yeah, he claims to be a doctor. So yeah, we've seen a trailer that he seemed like he's kind of acting and not really being truthful. But anyway, so after the trip from Italy, Louise and Ben, they get a photo and a letter from Patty and Sierra inviting them to meet again, despite the fact that they barely even know them. Because, in real life, most people would be like, yeah, them weirdos, I don't know them. Let's toss this away and never meet them people again. But they decide that, why don't we just try it out? Maybe this could help our marriage and stuff like that by meeting some new people. So, Louise is put off by Patty's passive aggressive nature, even pushing her to eat, some type of like meat dish that he ends up making. Despite, her being a vegetarian, he ends up pushing her to eat it, and, that could have clearly made her incredibly sick. But, so that's just basically hinting at more of his weird, almost bully type of nature. And Ant ends up showing Ben that he straight up has no tongue at all, which is kind of weird. He's just basically finding any way he can to show this family signs that, yo, these people are pretty weird. You need to basically leave them, get up out of here. While camping, Louise sees Patty get, aggressive with Ant, and Patty even suggests that they all, go swimming and stuff like that. But she's basically starting to notice for sure already something's going on with this family. She sees it. The father Ben sort of seems like he wants to ignore it, or he's just basically almost too spineless to do anything about it. But Louise definitely can clearly see something's going on here. So like I said, Patty ended up deciding to just convince everybody to go on a swim. Just everybody just go along with it. Just take off your clothes and jump into this strange lake where you have to worry, you never know what's inside of it, either some alligators or, I don't know, sharp rocks or something like that, or a weird amoeba. But he's just so free spirited. He just pushes everybody to just do it. Of course, Louise feels totally uncomfortable about it, but she's the only one that clearly has a sense going on, and something don't seem right about these people. The people who clearly can see something's going on with this family, Louise and Aunt, people ignore them, throughout half of the movie. So, Louise wants to leave, but Sierra invites them to dinner. So it ends up, every time she wants to get her family out of here, they find some way to pull them back. And as soon as they think they're out, they get pulled back in. So, Patty and Sierra just have like a strange babysitter guy that just looks over Agnes and Anne while they go out on this dinner date, which is really just go on this double date, which is kind of weird. This strange guy who can, just they don't know this man and they barely even know who these people are, Patty and Sierra. And he's like, oh, just let this strange guy just, look after our kids. You don't know anything about him. He could be a part of some weird black market scheme or anything like that. But of course, Louise feels totally uncomfortable by it. By Ben, strangely enough, with that being his daughter, he don't feel uncomfortable with this grown man being around his daughter. But who just it's weird, Even though Patty does say that, oh, if this guy gives us any problems, I can deport him, but still, it's just weird. Of course, Louise feels uncomfortable about it, but she's forced to just kind of go along with it. Any other person in the real world would be like, nah, this ain't happening. But anyway, so like I said, Louise is uncomfortable about it, but Ben just basically sort of goes along with it, whatever. So anyway, Patty and Louise, they get even more into this weird passive-aggressive argument during dinner about like vegetarianism, and it's really complicated. So they have this little passive-aggressive like tug-of-war thing about that, and he's just Patty's showing more of his weird nature going on. He's like almost like a male version of the chick from Misery. I forgot the Kathy Bates character. I think not Kathy Bates. Let me see. What's her character from Misery? Hold on. Let me just. But you know what I'm talking about. The crazy lady from Misery. He's like that, super duper nice, but really is incredibly insane. But Petty ends up describing his childhood, and this is something he probably wasn't lying about. Most likely, he probably had a really bad upbringing with some awful parents that turned him into who we see later on at the end of this film. But he does seem to have a good marriage. I believe that. He met this woman. He truly, honestly seems to love Sierra. And, it's kind of funny because it's basically the exact opposite of what's going on with Louise and Ben. They do not have a great marriage. They don't have much of a intimate personal life going on between them two. Whereas Patty and Sierra have a great relationship in the bedroom, it seems. So they basically just it's just polar opposites of each other. The Patty and Sierra, they just, even though they're kind of a little weird, they got a best relationship. So they got a great family. Whereas Louise and Ben, they just barely can seem like they tolerate each other. But anyway, Anne shows Agnes some like weird scars he has on his stomach. So he's just basically showing signs like, yo, these people, something's going on here, something's crazy. So we just go into each one of them trying to explain to them what's going on. Of course, he can't talk because this whole situation is going on here. So anyway, Patty notices also that basically while they were on a date, that double date going on, Anne ends up stealing one of the watches from Patty's from his drawer. And Patty ends up seeing that one of his watches is missing from when Aunt and Agnes was like messing around in his drawer and stuff like that. So that's going to come handy in the future as to see what later on in the movie why he ends up taking it. Louise and Ben argue, and we find out that basically she was cheating, and we find out he lost his job. So that's creating some weird tension going on with them, which is pretty also ironic because Patty is this like doctor and all this doctor. So it seemed like him and his marriage is perfect, whereas Ben is unemployed and his wife is cheating on him because he, saw, a picture of somebody's, parts, some dude's man parts in his wife's phone. So he's like, yo, I'm not feeling that because clearly he knows it wasn't his. So, what I mean. Anyway, so we see Patty was watching during this argument, which is really creepy if you watch the scene again. They ended up arguing and stuff like that, but they end up sort of hugging each other out, and we see that Patty was basically listening the whole time like a creep. That was unusual. Louise sees the kids are gone, and Agnes is in the bed sleeping with Patty and his family, which she's completely thrown off by, even though she really should have been thrown off way earlier in the film and should have been left. But now she's finally like, yo, what is going on with this? Louise has had completely enough, and they say that they're leaving. So they get up out of there, they leave, and it would have been so much better for them if they would have just got up out of there, just but Agnes says, "Oh my gosh, my doll that I'm still attached to, even though I'm 12 years old, I need to go back and get it." So they go back. She's going crazy. So they go back. She was going crazy so much to the point where they almost got into a car accident just because she felt that she needed this doll. So they go back. Patty is completely hurt, like, oh my gosh, you guys are gonna leave without saying goodbye, all sorts of stuff like that, even though this man barely even knows them. He's sitting up like, oh, I'm gonna go crazy. I can't believe you guys left, and all sorts of stuff like that. And they decide to leave, but they want an explanation, like, oh, why are you guys leaving and stuff like that. Louise doesn't like that Agnes was basically in the bed, sleeping with Patty and Sierra. Sierra tells them that it's because their own daughter that they had passed away, and this whole story about, we had a daughter and she died, and I guess they started getting attached to Agnes and stuff like that. And they convinced the Dalton family to stay, even though the Dalton family barely knows these people. They decide to still stay, but it's typical stuff that goes on in most horror movies. People make dumb decisions, and so they're just making a dumb decision to stay, even though they really should have been up out of there, But anyway, Ant tries to speak to Agnes through a letter, but when Sierra comes along to figure out what's going on, he ends up completely eating it. So he's trying his best to communicate with these people the best way he can to tell them to go MIA and get out of here and leave these people alone, but he's not able to be completely clear with it. But, Agnes tells his mom she's worried about Ant. She's getting real suspicious about him. Patty goes hunting with Ben, and Patty seems to really like hunting. Ben doesn't, which is kind of a hint as to who Patty really is. He likes to hunt, and I don't really think it's animals he likes to hunt, but as you can see throughout the movie what's going on, where we figure out who Patty really is. Louise accidentally injures herself, and Ben goes to him and say, "Hey, oh, you're a doctor. Can you help my wife out?" And he says, "What? I'm not a doctor." You saw that scene in the trailer where he's like, what are you talking about? I'm not a doctor. But oh, yeah, I was just joking around. We know that this psycho ain't no doctor, but he likes to toy with him basically because he's crazy. Sierra tries to then there's a scene where Sarah tries to be like Agnes' mom, like tries to act like, tell her what to do, and Louise basically checks her and Patty for it. They're really stepping out of their bound. They're really overstepping their boundaries here. And Patty basically makes Sierra apologize, which you may think that there's some weird possible abuse going on there, where he just basically tells her, "Hey, apologize," and she just does it. So that kind of hints at it. Sometimes I think that maybe Patty and Sierra really did possibly have a daughter before this whole situation happened, before they became who we see they become later on in this movie. That maybe they truly did have a daughter. Maybe I don't think it's really a part of an act, but And then Patty ends up basically making Louise apologize to Sierra for overreacting. Of course, Ben don't step in and say nothing because he's just letting Patty just run over his whole family basically. Cool with his daughter sleeping in the same bed with him. All this weird stuff going on. And Ben don't say nothing about it. I don't know what's up with this dude. Why they make him so soft and weak? I don't know what's going on there, but this father seems almost about kind of remind me of the dad from that one I forgot the One Us movie. The movie came out there where the dad was kind of just too. Well, that dad was more silly. I don't think he was weak, but he was more silly, compared to this dad here. This dad in this movie is kind of soft. That dad in Us was a little too silly. I guess he was with the comic relief, but he wasn't really feel like he was doing his job to really protect his family. And that's kind of seemed like what we see with Ben in this movie, except maybe later on in the movie becomes a little bit better. But yeah, he just letting a lot of weird stuff slide. Too much going on. Ant and Agnes, they put on like this like dance recital thing going on, and Patty feels Ant isn't dancing good, and he completely loses his mind. He just completely goes crazy on the kid, and he's just making himself look insane. Like I said, Ben is just letting Patty run his family, and everybody's totally uncomfortable with how Patty is acting. Even Sierra's like, yo, this dude is really losing his mind here. I don't know. I almost seem like Patty and Sierra, like an old version of Joker and Harley. They're just, I don't know what's going on. It's just complete insanity with them two. Ant takes the keys from Patty, and Ant ends up showing Agnes the basement pictures of like families that Patty and Sierra met, and the watch that basically Patty stole from a previous family, and basically showing that these people are serial killers, and they go and meet families, rob them, kill them, and basically take whatever child is within that household and remove their tongue. And that's what they've been doing for, I'm assuming, for some years now. And that's what they did to Ant's family. So why he can't speak, he doesn't have a condition. They basically cut the boy's tongue out. So as we figure out, he tells them, like I said, yo, they removed my tongue, they did this stuff like that. Yo, they're gonna do this to y'all next soon. So Patty begins to show more of his darker side to Ant when they're alone. He even makes a tongue-in-cheek type of joke about, what the cat's got your tongue, but in reality, took the boy's tongue out. And Ant is really smart in this movie. He's like one of the smartest characters in this movie. He was able to find some way to slip the keys back into Patty's back pocket so he can never know that he basically took it. So a really smart move by this kid. This kid is incredibly smart and crafty. Agnes cuts her thigh and goes to her mom, about it, basically making it seem like she got her first, period, I thought she was just doing it just to cut her leg, but anyway, that's what she was planning on doing. Smart move by the kid. She wanted to get her mom alone and shows her pictures of the families that Patty and Sierra basically took out of here. So unalived, as they say on YouTube now. So Patty ends up seeing that they've been downstairs in the basement. Now he's starting to suspect. Oh man, they pretty much know what happened now. The Dawn family find out about them, so Dawn's decided to leave, but of course their tire was flat because Patty began to figure out what they're about to do. They're about to get out of here and probably call police. So Patty decides to help them with the tire. The tire is fixed, and somehow Agnes' doll is on the gutter. Somehow ended up getting on the roof, and they try to blame it on Ant for putting it up there. But she's so sickened and creeped out by this family that she's finally gotten over her anxiety over not having this doll, and she's like, I don't even want it no more. But Patty's like, nah, forget it. I'm gonna go up there and get it. And it's all completely torn up now, basically, and she just doesn't even care about it no more. Patty says they aren't being truthful. He feels that they're basically not being truthful with what's going on here. He knows that they're trying to leave, but he's trying to stall them out. Louise basically says that, oh yeah, me and Ben are breaking up and stuff like that. It's a clever distraction to let them not think that why they really leaving, and they're like, whoa, you guys are breaking up, so there's that. And the Dalton family, they drive off, finally getting up out of here after all this weird tension is building, trying to prevent them from leaving. And Patty just, ends up deciding, okay, well, since they're gone, let me just toss Ann in a pond. And Ben sees this, along with Agnes, so they hop out, save him. Patty shuts the gate, and now he holds the family hostage. He has Louise transfer money from their account to his account so they can continue this whole process of trying to rob them and take them out of here, and eventually end up trying to take out Agnes' tongue. Louise is able to have a box cutter she got from earlier in the film, cuts him, takes the gun from Sierra, and the Dawn family and Ant finally flee, but they end up getting stalked by Patty's pal that they met at the restaurant. And he's his Mike, who basically is like their accomplice, and they get stopped by him, so they run back into the house. Basically, Sierra ends up cutting the phone lines, like some old school horror type of move that they do in like one of them Scream films. So she cuts that so they can't talk. I don't know. I guess they must have took their cell phones. Patty must have took their cell phones because they can't call nobody. Because this stuff is rarely you see in horror movies nowadays. When somebody get their phone, when somebody cuts the power line where somebody can't talk on a house on a phone line. For one, I haven't seen a phone line in years. Most people have cell phones now. So them cutting the time, taking their cell phones and cutting the phone line was pretty interesting because I ain't seen that in movies in so long. That's an old school horror trope. Let's see. So anyway, Ben starts whining. Like I said, I don't know why this man is so soft. I thought he was supposed to be more of a backbone of the family or something like that. He's supposed to be the man, protecting his family, and he's whining. So Louise has to talk some sense into him. I don't know what's up with this dude, Ben, but he eventually ends up developing more of a backbone to defend his family. Ben thinks of a plan to set up a fire so people can probably see them and help them out. Patty and his team basically get into the house, and he tries to get into the room with Louise. And while he's trying to get through the door, he's looking exactly like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. He's just looking insane. Louise sees Louise is able to use her daughter's phone app on her phone that she used earlier in the film to calm her down, to distract Patty. That was a good little Chekhov's gun type of thing that she was able to do to distract him. Also, we saw that Agnes was able to take a needle that full of ketamine that was going to be used by Patty. She ended up taking that needle and she ends up hiding it, so she ended up using that later on in the film. We'll get to that. Ben attacks Patty's pal Mike, and Louise ends up saving him. The Dalton family escape the house, and now Sierra has to stop them after basically they hit Mike in the back of the head with a hammer. Sierra was about to take out the family, but Louise comes and knocks her off the roof, and she falls, and she's get up out of there. So basically, Louise is just saving her whole family at this point, basically, because Ben, he's kind of, not really stepping up as much. I don't know what's up with him. He just, I don't know. Ben hops off the roof and he hurts his leg, but he gets the ladder to get his family down. Ben tells his family, hey, you guys can leave. I'll be right behind you. I for certainly thought that he was going to die, but that doesn't happen. Patty ends up holding Agnes hostage, but she ends up stabbing him with a pin with a needle full of ketamine that we saw that she was hiding, that she was able to get when Patty dropped it, back when he was holding the whole family hostage. So that was clever. She used that on him. And he completely falls over and he passes out. Ant ends up finally getting his revenge on him for cutting out his tongue and killing his family, and completely goes Negan on Patty's head after saying, "That's my boy." He just gets the brick and just starts going to town on him. Turns into like a little Negan. So there's that. And the whole family drive off. I'm guessing that they adopt Ant now, and Agnes finally gets over. She grows up out of her fear and ends up giving her torn up doll to Ant, and he cries, mourning his family. And that was the end of this movie. So this was pretty interesting. I never saw the 2022 remake of this. This was pretty interesting, little decent, horror film. It was okay. Out of 4 stars, I give this 2. It was decent. I never really thought that they would have this like 2 dismantled women on the run. Some weird serial killer couple to go around and go after, I guess, families that are more successful, rob them and get their money, and then kidnap the kid and take the kid's tongue out. That's pretty wild. This was interesting. I never really knew that was coming up, but yeah, this is a decent movie. I give it 2 out of 4 stars. If you liked this video, like, comment, subscribe, share the video for all things new films coming out, and thank you for watching my video.